there we have it, folks. It's once again time for the Paranormal Portal, and I'm once again your host of Ghosts, Brent Thomas. And hopefully you guys are having a great evening. Nathan from the Quantum Show says, was just listening to Wayne and Michelle. I'm not sure who Wayne and Michelle are, but I hope they had a good show or good song. I don't know if these are a music thing or is it a show thing, but great to have you here. In any case, Nathan says hit like. God bless you, Nate. You know the drill. Thank you, sir. I hope you all do like the show. Certainly if you do, hit the like. If you don't like it, hit that like twice or hit the don't like twice. And by God, that'll show me. Michigan Paranormal. Okay, gotcha. Well, that's cool. I don't think I've ever caught their show. I'd love to catch it. I just, I mean, there's a lot of shows out there, so I don't know. I don't get as much time to watch things as I wish I did, but in any case, it's great to be back with you guys. I've missed you. Hopefully you handled the world okay without me for a few days, but I'm back. It's Wednesday, and gotcha. Michigan UFO and Paranormal, Brent. Oh, very cool. Yeah, that sounds wonderful. I'm sure I'd love their show. I just haven't caught it yet. So I'll have to look for that one. That would be great. I always like catching new shows. Speaking of catching new things, caught this today just as I was prepping for the show. I thought I'd put it up on screen so you guys could see it. Because, I'm always a little proud of these things. And I don't mean to pat myself on the back. I mean, I know it's this could all change tomorrow. I mean, people like things and then they don't like things, and it doesn't always stand to reason, but maybe it's because, people just fall off. But it's nice to know that all the work is becoming something and it's being noticed. And this is a posting. They actually linked me to their post on X, and I saw it. I was like, what? Why did they link me? But then I looked at the article and was like, oh, wow, that's cool. So here you go. This is the post, and it is from millionpodcasts.com. And this is a new site to me. I don't know this site, unless it's a rebranding of an old site. But anyway, it's the best 100 ghost hunting podcasts. And so I was looking at them like, where did I go? They didn't tell me. So I'm screaming. I got Jim Harold's Campfire, Real Ghost Stories Online, the Paranormal Podcast, which I've never heard of that one. Oh, that's Jim Harold as well. Jim's Double Dipping, which is fine. Darkness Radio, of course, that's Dave Schrader's project. The Grave Talks, number 5, number 6, Haunted Road 7, Ghosted by Rod Hernandez, the Night Owl Podcast, and then number 9, well, you look at that, the Paranormal Portal. Number 9 on the top 100. So God bless you. I really appreciate that. I wish they would have used a more current thumbnail. That was like from my first season of podcasting, and I'm on season 6 now, like 6 years ago. So that wasn't my best work, but it was the best I could do at the time. So yeah, number 9. There you go. It's neat to make the list. I've made a few lists here and there, and I'm always really tickled with that. I don't always share them here on the shows, but I was like, well, I just saw it, so I thought I'd share it with you now. So anyway, thank you to millionpodcast.com. I really appreciate that. That's pretty awesome. I don't know if I make any lists. I guess if you guys ever see my show on a list anywhere, let me know, unless it's a terrible list. I cracked the top 10. Yeah, I did. Again, I've not heard of Million Podcasts before, but that's not surprising. I don't hear about a lot of things. So they could be an enormous site. They could be a real small thing. I don't know, but it's very nice to be recognized. So special thank you to millionpodcast.com. I'm really honored. Thank you. So what do? It's Wednesday. It's hump day. So first of all, congratulations. You made it to hump day, and you made it to another one of my, it's God's favorite number. Tattoo Alley said number 9 is God's favorite number. Well, that's good then. I guess I'm in good company at that point then. And yeah, I don't know. Again, it's not me self-congratulating, but it does feel good. It's like, I put a lot of work into these shows, and it's really cool. Now, this is not the podcast for any of you that might be newer. This is actually just the live streams. The live streams and the podcast are generally 2 very different shows. However, I've been known to take some of these live streams and make podcast episodes out of them. But for the most part, they're 2 very different shows, and this list had to do with the podcast. I don't think I've ever been recognized for my YouTube channel, but then again, it's pretty small. So, but it feels good. Thank you, Werewolf. I appreciate that. I don't like ghosts. Eric Fry says, I don't like ghosts. They are spooky. Spooky behavior scares me. Well, I'll try to keep that in mind as I read through tonight's stories. Anyway, hello to John Stevenson. Hello, Werewolf. Hello, Eric Fry, Chucky Danger, T-Bone, John Stevenson, Philip Blair. I said John twice. So good I said him twice. Maggie M10 is in here. Good to see you, Maggie. I don't think I've seen you lately, right? If I have, I'm sorry. It's just, I've been pretty busy. So, my brain's not what it once was. I don't know if it ever was much, but it's less now. Good to see you, Lenda. Thank you for coming in. Again, Tattoo Alley is here. Wonderful to see you. They said that's number 9 is God's favorite number, so got that going for me. Phil Funk is in here. Great to see you. T-Bone. Just scrolling up quick, looking at names as they're on the list. A lot of the same names here. T-Bone. There's Josh Casto. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for coming in. That's wonderful. Again, Nathan from the Quantum Show is here. And definitely support Nate, what he's doing over there. Nate, full disclosure, I haven't checked out your show. I'm sorry. But I'm sure it's marvelous. I'd love to check out your show as well. Would you like to be a guest, Brent? I'm always game to be a guest on anybody's shows. I love going on other people's shows and saying hello and having discussions about this stuff. T-Bone's asking. So if they're interested in having me on, I'd be thrilled to go on. But no pressure, of course. I used to live in Michigan, actually, Phil. Phil Blair says, never been to Michigan. A lot of good woo in Michigan. I lived there for a short period of time, for about 8 months after I graduated high school. Well, no, I guess it was when I was 19. I moved over there and lived with my cousin's family for a while. I loved it. I had a great time. But, I liked Michigan. I'd been there many times before that, just visiting them. So, Aussie Tiger's in here. Good to see you. Rachel Gets It Right, of course, is here. She's always here. Thank you, Rachel, for always being here and keeping us on the straight and narrow. Somebody's got to do it, and it's not probably a fun job sometimes, but you do it great. I appreciate it. I'm looking for any new names that I haven't said hello to yet. I got Big D over there on Rumble. It looks like Barbara Mora's over there too. Good to see you, Barbara. Great to see you as well. It looks like I think I've said hello to everybody that's at least chatting. I'll go down and check out the newest messages now to see if anyone else has popped in since I've been saying, hey, Paul Haywood came in. Good to see you, Paul. Thanks for coming in, man. That's awesome. And Karen, good to see you. So as always, it's Wednesday, as I said, and it's you and me. We are the show. So you guys are always a part of the conversation. Hi, Deborah Neighbors. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. You guys are always the part of the show. You guys are always my other co-host, even if I have a co-host. You guys are a big part of these shows, and so feel free to jump into the conversation. I'll keep watching to see if you guys have said anything as much as I can. And I did remember the Ghost Radar, which for me on Wednesdays is a pretty good thing. So we got that going for us. The Ghost Radar is on. It's been surprisingly quiet lately, which is kind of wild. I actually decided to do this. I decided to set up a little ghost ball back here just to see. I want to put it over here, though, where it's more visible. So if that goes off, you guys let me know. It shouldn't be going off for any. I mean, obviously, I just touched it now, so it's going off. But if it goes off, we could be visited. I don't know. Again, how you feel about that stuff. Yeah, I had it on the desk here a couple nights ago, and it kept going off at really bizarre times. Not because it was being bumped or because of anything like that, but it just went off. So I was like, oh, is somebody here? And boom, it went off again. I'm like, okay. So I don't know how you feel about that. I love these ghost balls, though. And if you're looking at getting into ghost hunting, these are a great low budget tool, and they're fantastic. Again, no one thing, like no one device is going to tell you for sure if you're dealing with what could be spirits or not. But if you have a few different devices and you get correlating hits, then that's a pretty good indication that you very well might be dealing with something paranormal. So, Yeah, I haven't done a cat ball in a while. You're right, Chucky. But I figure, well, it's not too creepy, right? I mean, some people get creeped out. I used to do several shows where I just set up the equipment over on the other table over here out of reach, and I put it on camera, and we got some great stuff. And you can check out Instagram or TikTok and see a couple of those videos. But surprisingly, we get a lot of activity here in the studio. So if it goes off, it could mean something. Just saying. Hubby's asking for prayers. He's having a creation on his kidney and biopsy, hoping the results are better than the odds. Oh, of course, Karen. Give our love to the mister and tell him we'll be sending our prayers and love and all of our healing vibes for his continued good health. I'm so sorry to hear that he's been going through that, but and that you guys are going through that. A cryoablation. Yeah, I had an ablation one time, actually, to correct a birth defect on my heart, of all things. It was a radio frequency ablation, and it took care of it, I guess. Yeah, but for sure we're sending you the prayers. I don't know how they do those ablations in Neil's case, but mine was probably one of the easiest surgeries I've ever had in my life. Unfortunately, I've had a few, so I've got a spectrum to compare with, and that was actually one of my favorites. But yeah, our love to you and Neil, and keep us posted, please. Let us know what's going on with that if you would. I would greatly appreciate that. So, but yeah, of course you have our love. Hey, Jackie C, good to see you. Thanks for coming in and being a part of our journey. But we're going to get to the news here shortly, and we're going to get to another article. I've got several pulled up, and we'll hit the cryptids and whatever else we hit. Again, these shows are not scripted. Like, I don't have a set list of things I have to get through. I just have some things pulled up that we can get to. But if we end up having a whole side conversation about something absolutely different in the chat, I'm good with that too. That's why I always say, so if you're going to send me a message in the chats, please put it in all capital letters, because those definitely jump out to me more visually. They're easier for me to pick up. So if you want to say something, do it in capitals. And in old school chatting, that used to be yelling. Why are you yelling? It's just all capital letters. And some people just hated shift and, doing capitalization. So they just hit the caps lock and just went, oh, quit doing that. You're yelling at us. It cracks me up. There we go, Maggie. Thank you. God bless you. Love you too, Maggie. My love to you and the family as well. Another good piece of evidence, another good piece of information is I'm just about done setting up the new Paranormal Portal shop with a new t-shirt vendor. And the good news is they have hats. They have like trucker hats and dad hats, baseball hats. And I got a design. They're going to be sending me a sample. I should be receiving it in the next couple days, but it should be new t-shirts, which will look just like the traditional t-shirts that we had, or at least one. I haven't put all the designs over there yet, but there's also going to be some more color variations, which are very nice for some of the Paranormal Portal logos and different colors and stuff. So I hope you guys will check those out and help to support the show if you don't mind. But I'll be putting the links to that. I'll be linking it to the YouTube channel as well after I get the samples. I want to see that it's good quality first, and then we'll be announcing that. So yeah, I mean, the new merch is going to look just like the traditional merch with just the logo on it, first of all. But I do have more designs I'm going to be uploading, some of which, Don and I did together back in the day. The Rocker Collection, which Don called it the Rocker Collection. It was always very popular. And a few other designs that were done by a good friend of mine as well. So we'll be doing that all in the near future. I was wearing my Portal merch yesterday. Well, how's it holding up, Chucky? Let me know. I was looking for updates on that. I have a few Paranormal Portal hoodies and shirts and stuff, and they're holding up pretty good. I wish that I love my Paranormal Portal hoodie. Thank you, Maggie. I love that you got one. Thank you, Brent. We've been waiting patiently. And we'll get back to the giveaways and stuff, and I'll catch up on the giveaways. Those of you who have been waiting patiently, I just had to go with a different company. I got tired of that other company, and it went on way too long. It's gone on way too long. So for those of you that are owed shirts, please reach out to me again. I think I have notes for everything anyway, but just reach out to me again to remind me, hey, I want a shirt in this drawing. Please, here's my information again, if you wouldn't mind. Otherwise, I'll go through old messages and figure it out. I've got some written down on notepads. I got others on message boards and stuff. So, but if you got a shirt coming, I remember a few, like Aussie Tigers got one coming, and then I know Justin Good Earth has one coming, and a few other people have them coming. So I have not forgot about you. I just want to apologize again for how long it's taken. I think the sweatshirts are soft. Again, this is a new company, but I'm sure they're wonderful. So anyway, Karen Hubbarding, they are the softest. Aw, you guys are great. So without further delay, sorry to keep running my lips. I do this a lot. I probably do it way too much, but it just feels so good to get back together with you guys. After several days, I really miss talking to you guys and just telling you what's going on. It's like getting together with friends again. So anyway, but the new t-shirts company is called T Public, and it's a branch of that called Dashery, and that's where my store is. And I'll be announcing that officially and linking it to the YouTube channel and other channels on other platforms if it's possible. So anyway, let's get to it. Hear my dog barking? Somebody's here. I don't know who's here. I got to see. I don't know. Let me see. Oh, I think the minion's answering the door. I got one of those. Well, it's not Ring, but it's like those doorbells where you ring it and they put you on camera. But whoever did it, I can't see them. They're inside the door. So, all right. Sorry about that. But anyway, let's get to the news and start there. Then we'll continue on. Sorry for the barking dog. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the news. Sorry about that. I had to visually check who was here. All right. Everything's fine here in the Portal House. There we go. I'll get all settled again. Welcome to the news, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. This is the news desk as we dive into the Paranormal Portal news. And I don't know about y'all, but hopefully you'll find it wildly entertaining or mildly entertaining and at least informative. And I don't know. It's not always paranormal, so to speak, but it is hopefully interesting. So, again, throughout the course of the show, we utilize a lot of different links and websites. And I say this every show, but I truly appreciate it. Run into the front door. Yeah, that's me. I'm just a full service kind of host here. I can answer the door and do a show. But please support these sites. These are so well done. They're doing an incredible job, and your support really means the world to me and to keep them going. So just please visit these sites as we go through them and give them your love. It's just traffic equals revenue for when you have a big website. And, the more traffic they get, the easier it is to pay the bills. So please give them your love and support. And, there you go. So the first story tonight on the news is this one I thought was really interesting, folks. I've heard of this phenomena before, and it can come up sometimes in deep hypnosis, that people that are being deeply hypnotized can sometimes emerge with knowledge or speak under deep hypnosis other languages that they've never learned. And it's really a crazy phenomena. But here's a little different take on that, folks. And this is from unexplained-mysteries.com, ladies and gentlemen. And the story, believe it or not, is Mystery as Boy Awakens from Surgery Speaking a Foreign Language. Whoa. That's not something you hear every day. But it makes you wonder, where is language? Is it something that can be genetically passed on, or is it in some kind of universal knowledge that we sometimes can access? It does make you wonder. But again, there's been experiences in deep hypnosis where people were able to speak another language. Almost like when you think about demonic possession, sometimes those people end up speaking in ancient languages and dead languages or other languages that they'd never learned. And it's, I'm sure, freaky as hell, but is it possible that there's some part of our brain that can access this knowledge of other languages? So I find it really interesting. Hey, Hoggle, good to see you. It's wonderful to have you here. Let's get into the story. A 17-year-old boy from the Netherlands is at the center of a bizarre medical mystery that nobody can explain. According to reports, the boy, who had been having knee surgery after suffering an injury while playing soccer, woke up from the procedure only for his family to discover that he could no longer speak his native language and was instead only able to speak English. Huh? The bizarre situation was made all the stranger by the fact that he had previously only spoken English during classes at school and was now adamant that he was actually located in the United States. He was unable to recognize his own parents and didn't seem to understand a word of Dutch. While medical staff initially dismissed his symptoms as a form of post-surgery delirium, they ended up requesting a psychiatric consultation when he was still unable to speak Dutch hours later. When a neurologist examined him, no sign of any abnormalities was found. Eventually, around 18 hours after the surgery, the boy started to speak his own native language again, and before long seemed to have mostly returned to normal. Doctors believe that he was suffering from a very rare case of foreign language syndrome, a malady that sees a patient wake up only to find themselves speaking a different language. Is that not a huge story, though? I mean, is that not a huge thing? Now, it did allude to the fact that the boy did learn English somewhere in school or whatever, but the fact that he forgot his native tongue completely, or couldn't recognize it and couldn't speak it. Anyway, the condition is so rare, in fact, that there are only 9 documented cases in medical literature, and this is thought to be the first to involve an adolescent patient. Exactly what causes it to happen remains a complete mystery. Fortunately, in this case, the boy was well enough to go home 3 days later. How about that? Could you imagine? But there is paranormal circumstances where, again, with demonic oppression or attachment or possession, that people have been cited to speak languages they couldn't possibly know, and oftentimes dead ancient languages of all things, so it's pretty crazy. But they're, again, talking about the deep hypnosis, people being able to suddenly speak a language they never learned. It has come up, so it's crazy stuff. Yeah, Michelle says crazy. It is crazy. You're right. So anyway, very, very wild. Hey, Dog Digger, good to see you. Car Juice 2 came in over in Rumble as well. Good to see you guys. Thank you for being here. So there you have it. That's the first one. I mean, come on. Have you heard that anywhere else? That's why I love the news. And hopefully it's a new story to all of you, or at least most of you. I hadn't heard that before. But this is why I love unexplained-mysteries.com. This site is so incredibly well done. So let's get to the next story, because there's more. There's always more, folks. Let's get to this one. And this one is also from unexplained-mysteries.com. This one's kind of current events. I think everybody knows about this one, but we'll talk about it anyway, because I haven't read this article. I do want to look and see how long this one is. No, it wasn't too long at all. But it has to do with the conspiracy files of unexplained-mysteries.com. And I think this is one that a lot of people have been waiting decades and decades and decades for, and now it's finally out there. What am I talking about? The last batch of JFK assassination files has been released. Now, I haven't read through any of these. I'm mildly familiar, at least vaguely familiar, with a lot of the controversy and a lot of the ideas. And I agree that it doesn't sound like one person could have done that. It seems pretty well regarded as a cover-up, a huge cover-up. But let's check this out. Treasure trove of files pertaining to President Kennedy's assassination was released to the public this week. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy remains one of the most hotly debated murder cases in history, and even today, almost 60 years on, amateur sleuths continue to argue over exactly what happened and whether or not Lee Harvey Oswald had acted alone. At the center of the controversy over the case lies the files themselves, a treasure trove of documents concerning the assassination, the evidence of the investigation surrounding them. While there had been limited release of these files in the past, the U.S. government has now finally released the remaining 1,000 or so documents that have been repeatedly withheld. That said, concerns remain regarding uncertainties over how many of these newly released files are actually new, and also concerning the fact that some of the text in the documents is still redacted. Well, I mean, they're not new. They're 60-some years old. But anyway, an early analysis had also noted that many of the files are so worn or so poorly scanned that they're hard to make out, while others seem to have little relevance to the Kennedy assassination case. Some experts maintain that there are still likely to be more files out there. Whether or not the newly released documents will help solve the enduring mysteries surrounding the case remains unclear. Given that many people involved, including witnesses to the original investigations, are now dead, it is more difficult than ever to really get to the bottom of exactly what happened. Yeah, true. No doubt this is a topic that will continue to be hotly debated for years to come. You can check out the newly released files for yourself here. I'm going to put a link to that in the chats if any of you guys are interested in checking out the archives of these files that were released. I know that I read just a blurb of one that somebody had a screenshot of on Facebook earlier, and it's like, oh my God, that guy said that. Something about this guy said, well, yeah, after so-and-so takes care of Kennedy, we'll have a lot more money or something like that. It's like, oh my God. And now, do I believe that there was always a big plot involved with this? Yeah, of course. I think most of us did. And, again, I don't know how much faith you can ever have in government, honestly, because, it's just a lot of ways, government is a clown show. But that's not me being political. I'm not being political when I say that. I'm just saying, look, the public has been led so far astray from so many potential truths for so long at the hands of government and at the hands of government cover-ups. It's hard to know what to trust or anything. Or can you trust anything? So I'm just saying, whatever side of the aisle you're on, or whether you're on a side of the aisle, it's not important. What I'm saying is that, man, government just definitely doesn't seem to work in the interest of all of us, and it's tragic to say that. I wish that weren't true. Not only do they suck, they can be mean too. Well, there's some, here's the thing. If the old adage is true that knowledge is power, then they definitely guard their power viciously. And that's the scary part. Yeah. Another thing that's floating around, that Kennedy knew about the UFO and was going to say something to the public, Jane Beebe says over on Facebook. Yeah, I could be. I can't even guess at that, to be honest with you, but I don't know all of the things that he could have known and could have been poised to act on. I think one of the things that a lot of people have surmised, and this is all wildly speculative from me repeating it, because first of all, I don't pretend to have a lot of knowledge of any of this, not even a little bit of knowledge, but I had heard that he was planning to return to the gold standard instead of the whole banking system standard that we have had forever, and it's caused a whole bunch of love and fun. That was a punchline, actually. So anyway, more files are out. I'm also interested in what if anything we're going to learn, not only from these, from the MLK and Kennedy's brother's assassination as well. RFK's dad or his uncle, or I don't remember how everybody's related, but I mean, assassinations are an ugly, ugly thing. And you know that there was a lot of nefariousness going on. That not only took out Kennedy, but they went after the family, for God's sake. So God only knows. But anyway, that's newer news, but I don't think it's new to any of you. I'm sure you all have heard pieces and parts and of that at any rate. So let's go on to the next one, because there's more in the portal news. And this one is, what is this one? Oh, I don't think I'm going to read that one. Let me just look. Oh, this one I thought was really interesting. Could you imagine? I mean, how the hell would we know? How the hell could we know? But let's check it out. This one's, how long is this one? No, it's not too long. Okay. Because it's, anytime you get into science and space and astronomy ones, some of those articles are just enormous and they have way too much information to cover here. So I usually skip through those. I don't know if you missed it, Amateur Acoustics. I think you're the unknown, aren't you? But we just did cover the fact that the files have been released and there's still a lot of questions as people are digging into them. So, all right, let's get to this article, also from unexplained-mysteries.com. This is from Space and Astronomy, and this is brand new to me, completely brand new. New discovery suggests that our universe may exist inside a black hole. That might explain my weight gain. I feel a little denser. Let's see what this says. Is our entire universe situated within a black hole that is itself part of a larger parent universe? How do these people even think of stuff like this? Like, I get a headache even trying to conceptualize it. It's like, oh, this hurts. There's too much going on. I can't follow it. But how do theoretical physicists and astrophysicists even come up with ideas like this? And how do they substantiate it? I don't know. Let's see. All right, here it is. Excuse me, I got to take a drink. I'm going to start coughing. Okay, is our entire universe situated within a black hole that is itself part of a larger parent universe? Scientists analyzing data from the James Webb Space Telescope have discovered something that nobody expected. That the majority of early galaxies in the cosmos rotate in the same direction. In fact, it turns out that about 2/3 of the galaxies spin clockwise, and the rest spin counterclockwise, suggesting an overarching preferred direction for galactic rotation as opposed to a 50-50 split. It is still not clear what causes this to happen, but there are two primary possible explanations, said study leader Lior Shamir, an associate professor of computer science at the Carl R. Ice College of Engineering. One explanation is that the universe was born rotating. That explanation agrees with theories such as black hole cosmology, which postulates that the entire universe is the interior of a black hole. But if the universe was indeed born rotating, it means that the existing theories about the cosmos are incomplete. The idea that the universe actually exists inside of a black hole, known as the Schwarzschild cosmology, is not a new one, but the recent findings represent some of the most compelling evidence yet that this might actually be a very real possibility. If, in fact, we actually do exist inside a black hole, it means that the black hole in question may exist in another larger parent universe. It also suggests that every black hole that exists in our universe may contain additional pocket universes. Oof. Wow, that's crazy. There could even be an infinite number of such universes embedded within one another. As things stand, however, scientists cannot tell for sure whether or not this is actually the case. Yeah, obviously they can't tell. How do you test that theory? I mean, it's not like we can create a black hole and then look and see if there's universes in it. I don't know. That's really crazy. It really cooks my bacon, though, when you think about stuff like that. Wow. Love that song till he mentions a drink. What song are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. Anyway, there you have it. that was news to me. Was that news to you guys? Does that sound like something you might have postulated on your own at any given point in the journey of your lifetime? Not me, ever. I don't think I ever would have gotten to that one. But there you have it. That's interesting enough anyway. So take it or leave it. I don't know what you guys think of stuff like that. I don't know if it's possible to know what to think about stuff like that, but nonetheless, it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at my YouTube channel. The back end of my YouTube is kind of goes flaky. Are you guys getting a bit of lag over on YouTube, or is it going okay? Just let me know. Refreshing. The snapping of plastic fills the air as he draws a refreshing drink. All right. Anyway, I'll quit narrating my experiences right now. I think I heard it in Stargate SG-1 as a theory. Really? That's pretty fantastic. I mean, honestly, I think that good to hear at Paranormal Portal. Good. Thank you, Maggie. I think any reasonably well done science fiction is going to draw on a lot of theory and physics and theoretical physics a lot of times. I think, Star Trek was great for that they would introduce a lot of, theoretical ideas of the universe and the universes. And I thought that was fascinating. So there is merit in some of these, science fiction shows and stuff that it can introduce you to ideas at least. But it's hard to separate what is what unless you are a physicist, and I don't ever know. I have no clue, but I do know that this has been a production of the Paranormal Portal News, brought to you by the letters O, M, and G, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Good evening, Paranormal Portal Podcast with Brent Thomas. Well, good evening to you, Mr. Finch. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. All right. Well, I do think there are more than one Earth-type planet, so anything is possible. We don't know anything until our earthly bodies die, and who knows? Maybe not even then. Yeah, good point. I often wonder about that. It's like, what is next? What is next? Love Star Trek, Jane Beebe says. Yeah, me too. Especially the Next Generation. That was my jam. Oh, my God. Awesome newsy news. All right, well, speaking of news, we're going to wrap up the news now and get back to the rest of the show. Let's see what we're going to get into next. I don't even know for sure. I've got a bunch of stuff pulled up. We'll see what we're going to dive into. Let's get to it. The news. This has been a presentation of the Paranormal Portal News. Now, back to the show. I decided to narrate that too. All right, folks, that was the news. Hopefully you found that to be an enjoyable experience, but we got a lot more. We do. I'm sure of it. I just have to find out what is that. What is the lot more? Let me get to this. I got to see what's this. Ooh. What was this? I didn't do this, did I? I might have. No, I did do part of this one, I think. I'm looking at this one. I don't even know if we did this one before. I got to look. I've just got to read one of these if you don't mind. Hold on. No, I read some of them, but I think I didn't finish this, did we? How many is there? I'm just looking. Sorry, folks. I've got some old things pulled up that I got to get through. Okay. Yeah, so I think we'll start at number 5 on this one. I don't know how I forgot to finish this article, but I just found it again. And so there it is. We're going to get into this again now. We're going to head into a ranker.com article, folks. And this is one, again, I don't know how I missed getting back to it, but I missed getting back to it. So we're going to get to the rest of it now. And we'll see just what's going on here. Freaky. Are you talking to me? Are you talking about me? I often talk to myself all the time, actually, and I'm like having dialogue all over the place. And I suppose if anybody was ever just peeking in my window or something, first of all, that'd be really creepy, but they'd probably be creeped out by what they would witness if they did peek in my window. Be like, man, something wrong with that guy. Well, yeah, there's a lot wrong with me. About you, yes, sir. Yeah, well, that was a Paranormal Portal staff meeting. You guys just got to witness, so. They're all in my head, all of the staff members. Yeah, creepy for sure. Yeah, well, but I know how to behave, so that's good. But this article we started was from ranker.com, and this was Kids' Past Life Stories. It's by Muriel Loveland, and we did read the first few of them. I don't know if we read number 5 or not, so I'm going to reread that. Yeah, because I know I didn't read number 6, but I might have read number 5. But in any case, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm fascinated by some of these children that are born with very robust knowledge of a prior lifetime. Now, as a parent, I think I would be really extraordinarily uncomfortable as a parent knowing that my child had not only lived a prior life, but came with the memories from that too, because it'd be like, well, where's my kid? Where's the kid I get to raise? This one's already got knowledge. But one thing about the phenomena is they will come in with these memories, and they're still children. They're still these little beautiful, little beautiful things, but they come in with this other knowledge of another time in their experience. And I think that would be disconcerting as a parent. But the good news is that they usually grow out of it. Now, the interesting take is it really their memories? Are they cued in on some energetic memory that they pick up? Or is it some other form of sharing knowledge that maybe they're tuned into and they kind of outgrow it, much like kids, seeing apparitions up until a certain age and then they kind of outgrow it? Is it something similar to that? Well, maybe, I don't know. But it's pretty crazy. Anyway, we're going to get into some of these stories. You guys be the judge. I don't know what exactly is going on here, but I find it both a little disturbing and and also comforting, because I think one of the big hangups that we have as people is not knowing what comes next. What is it that comes next? It's this big question mark. Now, there's people with faith who are like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen when I die. And maybe they're right. I'm not saying they're not. But for others, it's like, I don't know what's coming for sure. I mean, I definitely believe in a higher power, and I believe that, that we are created and all of this has purpose and meaning. But still, it's weird to travel into the unknown. So in that regard, these stories are comforting in that it does seem to be at least some form of evidence that the soul continues on, much like near-death experiences. So anyway, let's get into these. Again, it's from ranker.com, and the list is Kids' Past Life Stories by Muriel Loveland. I was going to look and see when was this one written. I don't think it was new. I guess it was last updated in June of 2024, so it was a little under a year old that it was updated last, but I don't know when it started. But it's a great article. What we've read, I really enjoy. But let's get to this now. This is it. This is ranker.com, and I would recommend Ranker for a lot of pretty amazing stories, both in paranormal and otherwise. They have some amazing lists. So this is the one we're going to be going through now. Let's get to number 5 here. I'm going to read this one, and this is from Reddit user Pink Mercedes is the one who submitted this story. Said her younger brother always used to talk about his past life, and the story never changed once. My little brother used to tell my mom and I that he died when he was 11 by being hit by a car. He said our mom was his mom before, and when he died, she was crying at his headstone. He said this many times between when he first could talk until he was about 6 years old or so. So it wasn't just a one-time thing. In the story, he was always 11, always died by being hit by a car and was always our mom crying at his headstone. Now, at 19 years old, her brother still remembers his death, sort of. He says he remembers telling us about it a lot, but only vaguely remembers his death, like as if it were a dream. But it doesn't sound like it was correlated by, like, the mom. Oh yeah, I lost another child before you came along, and he lived to be 11. So I don't know what that is, if that's a whole nother timeline completely. So, interesting though. Because there are those people that believe that the families you're born into, you probably could potentially have lived other lifetimes with those same people. And maybe that's true. I don't know. Number 6, past life as a Chinese mailman. This is by Redditor Hi Dingy Doo. Hi Dingy Doo. I don't know. Reddit names are really interesting. It says, apparently when I was just old enough to talk in sentences, I'd walk around the house and backyard with a large cloth bag that I found in my mom's closet. Mom asked me one day why I always wore the bag slung over my shoulder. I told it was for delivering messages like I did in China. This became a recurring theme, and I'd often mention little details about my past life in China. When my parents asked if I had a Chinese name, I'd say, you could just call me Bob. That's fascinating. The reason that I find that fascinating is back in Minnesota when I lived there, I befriended the owners of a Chinese restaurant, and they were from China. They were wonderful, amazingly wonderful people, and still are. I visited them when I was back as well, but they have very traditional Chinese names, but they always took on English names or American names. Like, I don't know what her traditional Chinese name was, but she always just said to call her Annie. And then her husband had another very traditional name, and she just said to call him David. So that's what their names were, and still are, Annie and David. And their kids, same thing. And I thought that was interesting, and it's fine. I don't have any opinion of that. I think it's kind of neat. Maybe their traditional names are really tough to pronounce, or just maybe it makes them feel like they're more a part of the community. But in any case, very cool. Number 7, the elephant in the room. And there's a picture of an elephant, so I think this is much more literal. This is from Redditor Hunair. My younger brother, 11-year difference, told me and my parents about his past life when he was very young, 4 to 5. He would describe the streets of India he lived in with great detail and how he was crushed by an elephant. He would cry for a long period of time about how there was so much blood and how he always became cold at the end of these memories. It sounds ridiculous, but he shared this story about how he died so clearly without ever being exposed to death or bleeding more than just a few scrapes, that it made me question a lot. So is it possible this little boy did actually meet his end in a previous life by getting on the wrong end of an elephant? Yeah, I mean, that's got to be a one-way trip. It's like, there's no way you can support that tonnage with your, small frames. All right, let's go to number 8 from BuzzFeed user Very Angry Goose. Let's see what this one says. It first happened when my daughter was almost 4 years old. She was playing in the floor and I was on the couch, and she said, "Mama, I need to tell you something." I said, "Oh, okay." Or something like it in response. And she says, "Before I was me and before you were my mama, I burned." And I asked her what she meant. She said, "My old mama tried to get me out, but the door was stuck. My skin looked weird." Talk about chills running down your spine. Still gives me goosebumps. I wonder what that means, though. I burned. My old mama tried to get me out, but the door was stuck. My skin looked weird. So it sounds like she passed away in a fire. Ah, that's horrible. Yeah, I suppose, because if you're burned, your skin would bubble, and oh, what a horrible way. Yikes. Very, very creepy. Number 9 is an ominous birthmark. In some religions, a birthmark is said to show how you've died in a past life, especially if that death was traumatic. One Redditor named Chitura Sama connected the dots between their unique birthmark and ominous childhood behavior. They said, "When I was a kid, I used to go around saying I was shot and killed by a poisoned arrow that grazed my arm. I don't remember saying this, but according to my parents, I said it every day, often crying about it and lamenting on how I couldn't save my son or something like that. I'm still skeptical about it, but I have a birthmark in the shape of a large line on my upper right arm." Kind of a cool coincidence. Isn't that something? I don't know if that's... I've heard that before as well, that some people say that birthmarks are a sign from how you didn't make it through your last life, or what took you out of your last life. And I don't know, it could be. Could be. I know a lot of birthmarks fade over time, but, it could be. That's pretty fascinating. I know there's a name for it, but I have a red birthmark. Is it shaped like anything, Phil? Yeah, I agree, Dee. I wouldn't want to remember burning either. That'd be horrible. Well, she was not a witch, at least. There was a door, not a stake and a rope. Freaky geek. No, you didn't. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Strawberry birthmark. Huh. Okay. That's pretty wild. I don't know if that means something or not. Where is it, though? Is it in any place interesting? Like, none of my children, except one, were born with a birthmark. And it was the minion. He was born with a... Excuse me. He was born with a red birthmark just on his lower rib, but on his left side. I think it was his left side. Yeah, it was on the left side here. But if it was a wound, it would be like where something went through his ribs and into his rib cage. I mean, if it was that. And I was like, wow, what is that? But it's faded away now. But it used to be so pronounced. It's like, where'd that come from? Sometimes you think of birthmarks as, well, maybe it's some trauma from being born, but he was born cesarean, so he wasn't, pulled through, the birth canal or anything like that. His coming into the world was very gentle. So not for his mom, but for him. So I don't know. But I had a shooting star in my leg, but it did vanish a few years ago. What, I wonder, does that mean? I don't know. I've got a birthmark that looks like the face of the moon. It's on my thigh. Wow. That's interesting. What do you mean the face of the moon? Like the man on the moon, the typical smiling man on the moon? Or looks like the moon, like the moon? I mean, what does that mean? Because, I think of the old 20s movies where they would show the moon and it was this, face kind of smirking. It's like, that's the man on the moon kind of thing. Anyone was shot between the eyes in the past life, why wouldn't they have a birthmark right there in their next life? I don't know. But the other thing is maybe it's only traumatic experiences that the birthmark manifests. Because if you were shot between the eyes, it'd be like, boom, it's done. It's like, okay, you're not gonna, well, God only hopes. I hope it would be a quick, painless ending. I don't know. I've been shot in the eye with a BB and that hurt like hell. But my husband had an oval-shaped brown birthmark on the side of his waist. I always thought it might have been caused by a sword or something in the past life. Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be something? Huh. That's very interesting. Hoggle says, I had a red birthmark on my forehead for a while as a baby. Ah, interesting. I don't know. I mean, it seems very interesting, and I've heard the correlation between some of these people that have past life memories also bear a birthmark. That seems to correlate with what could possibly have been the location of a wound. I don't know, or how they claim to have died, and maybe I just don't know. All right, number 10 To grandmother's house we go. This is by Redditor how the hell do you say this name? Smabwgi. Smaboogie? I don't know. Smaboogie? Recounted a chilling story from when they were around 2 years old. Could this have been a flash from their past life? Apparently, we were driving in a car and I was chattering away like kids do. And we're at a stoplight and all of a sudden I stopped talking, squinted, and looked out the window. In a shaky voice, I said, "Why don't they ever come visit me?" My mom said it didn't sound like my voice or a kid's voice for that matter. And she asked, "Who doesn't visit?" "My grandkids. They never visit anymore." Well, apparently it freaked my mom out, so she tried to ask me later that night and a few times after what I was talking about, but I had no recollection of saying it all and still don't. I almost wonder if that isn't like a spontaneous channeling or something. Like they just pulled in maybe a psychic memory or imprint, that might be in that area. I don't know. Certainly kids are pretty wide open in a lot of cases. Let's go to the next one. This one's by Redditor Butterfly Stickles. Butterfly Stickles. Okay. When I was a child, preschool age, I used the wrong words for stop and come back. When asked about this, I told my parents a story about it being late at night. I stood in a long line of people on a road that curved with the side of a hill, and I was worried about my papers. I heard a gunshot, and the people in uniforms checking papers came walking down the line yelling for me. I was a late 20s male and had a female partner. I took her hand so we could run for it down the hill. I remember thinking I just need to make it to the river because of the dogs. And we need to go now to have some distance before the men in uniforms get too close. We ran. The men in uniform started yelling the words that I used as a child for stop and come back. My partner tripped. I stopped for her, but the men were too close. We both turned face down, and I remember thinking what a pitiful attempt to hide in the grass. They saw us and were right behind us, but we didn't have another option. I crawled on top of her to protect her as best as I could with my back to the men in uniforms. I remember hoping they would only beat me, but knew that wasn't going to happen. There were two men chasing us, one closer than the other. There were only 20 steps behind or so because as soon as she fell, I stopped to protect her, and I heard their footsteps slow down. I closed my eyes, listened to the footsteps stop, heard a gunshot, and everything went white. I woke up as a child again with the thought, it will be better this time. My parents asked around the words I used, and it turns out they were check. I still have a reoccurring dream about the line running, being chased, her falling, me trying to protect her, and being shot in the back at close range at least once a year. I always wake up feeling the sting of being shot between the spine and the right shoulder blade. Oh, wow. What a brick to carry. Oh, what a nightmare. It's so scary that the world could ever get that dark, but it's been darker, if not darker, many times over. I keep hoping that somehow we are all going to outgrow that kind of stuff, but just doesn't seem real likely. Number 12, The Good Mom. This is from Redditor Greyhound Mummy. When my youngest son was 3, we were driving through a part of town we don't often visit, and he pointed out a house. He said, "That's where my first mommy lived when I used to be a little girl. But she wasn't nice to me. I was very scared of her. I'm glad you're my mommy now." Aw. How sad is that? I guess how good, though, because obviously it sounds like the mommy they got now is much better than the one they had then. Number 13, I'll Never Let Go. Oh, Rachel says, if science can isolate the parts of the brain where somebody recalls a past life, will it show up as signals in memory parts of the brain or somewhere else? Will the signals look different than memories? Yeah. I don't even know what any part of the brain maps like now. So it's hard to know, but that's a great question. Does the memory come from this physical brain or does it come from somewhere else? Yeah. Hard to know, man. Oof. That's a lot of deep thinking. All right. Let's hope it gets brighter all over. It's the end of Kali Yuga this month, D Ocean says. Well, I hope that's good. I don't know what Kali Yuga is, but as long as it's over, hopefully there's some good things coming. I think it's starting to. I hope you're right, D. Jane Beebe says, you should go to spiritual hypnotherapy and try and break the cycle of memory. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, none of these memories are mine, but I have my own memories to deal with. We all do. We've all got things in our lives that we'd probably just as soon not remember, but they all happen. Part of that just shapes us, though. I think even the tough times shape us, like some of the greatest stories ever are the stories of those people that to me, there was one that my oldest son Sheldon was reading. It was a book he read in high school, and it was called A Child Called It. And he would talk to me about it, and it broke his heart reading about what this person lived through, the terrific amount of abuse that this person lived through as a child and the horrors that they lived through. But the good part of it is that it according to my son, I never read the book. I just don't think I could make it through it anyway, because God, that kind of stuff would just break my heart so bad. But he said the good part is that person had a family now and had turned their life around and was living a really good life now. And I gotta just applaud that level of resiliency and that determination to create beauty out of such darkness. It's just, wow. Let's go to 14. I think there's only one other one. So yeah, we're almost done with this. This is from Maya 4F7B F9949. That's the BuzzFeed user that submitted this one. Excuse me. Hold on. I got a cough. When my daughter had just turned 3, my husband and I were hanging out with her in our bedroom, which used to be his parents' old room. My daughter looked at my husband and said, "I used to be your mother." Well, his mom died when he was 10. Intrigued, I asked her to tell us something about that, and she continued, "I went to work and got hit in the head," and made a gesture to her head. My husband and I both looked at each other in shock. His mother was in a car accident on her way to work when a bus slammed into her car and she had severe head trauma. No one ever spoke of that, not even next to my daughter. Today, my daughter is 10 and doesn't remember any of this, but if my husband wasn't in the room, I don't think anyone would have believed my story. Wow. That's kind of beautiful. That, the beautiful part of that is that her life was obviously cut pretty short. He was only 10. She left this family behind, but she still was brought back to participate in it and to be there. And maybe for him, that's a good thing, because he knows that that's the soul of the mother that loved him. That's kind of beautiful. Obviously, I don't know anything about their lives before or after, during or whatever, but, just on the face of it, it sounds really neat that, she had such love that she came back into that same family. All right, last one, extraterrestrial, from Redditor Marianne Dashwood. My friend's little girl said to her family when she was 2, "I came to Earth this time to see what it's like to be a human. And I love having hands. It's so great." This kid is only 5, but she is really is weirdly wise and just I can't explain it. I saw her today, and she seems like she knows much more than most people with regard to sensitivity and perception. Ooh, there you go. Looked up Kali Yuga, the ocean's deep. Ooh, thank you. I'm still not. Kali Yuga is supposed to end on Friday. Chucky's saying, I'm going to have to look at what. It's the darkest of the 4 ages. Apparently, we go through cycles. Oh, interesting. Thank you, Dee. I appreciate that background. Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, there's so many ancient wisdoms out there, and I don't pretend to know most of them. I don't know most of them, obviously, but I'm interested in them. So thank you for that information. That's really cool. So there you go. I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. I think they're fascinating stories. What do you think? I mean, just poll. Do you think that we might come back and that these stories might have some merit to them? If you think so, put a 1 in chat. I want to see a 1 in chat if you think, yes, you're on board with this possibility. It could be true. If you don't think so, if you think this is a bunch of bunk and these people are obviously delusional, give me a 0. So 1, you think it's true. 0, you think it's a bunch of hooey. So far, Maggie weighed in with 1s. Good. She said, excellent topic. Good. All right, Kitty says yes, 1. John Stevenson says yes. Okay, cool. Aussie Tiger's on board. T-Bone's on board. Very cool. Anybody else? What do we got over? Justin Gooder says 1 over in Rumble. Yep. Very cool. What do you guys think? Cooking Good Creations with Tina, 1. Grateful Owl, 1. Rachel, 1. Phil Funk, 1. D Ocean says 1, and she has past life memories. Chucky's 1. Werewolves, 3. I don't know what 3 was. What the hell was 3? Just to be a little different, huh? You're just one of those, huh, werewolf? Linda says 1. She's on board with it. Okay. I think those stories are fascinating. Carjuice says 1. He's on board over in Rumble. Barbara, what do you think? I haven't seen you weigh in over there on Rumble. Karen Alberting's on board too. She's got time for it. That's good. 1.5. John Labella's kind of in the middle. That's fair. Fair enough. Yeah, certainly. Barbara says 1. She's on board too. There you go. All right. Well, thanks for weighing in on that. I just think it's interesting. I love these kind of stories because, look, we obviously don't have the answers to much anything, really. We got a lot of ideas, but do stories like this kind of reinforce some of our ideas? And I think they do. At least some of them do. I don't know that all of them did. I think some of them are a little strange and maybe different phenomena at work, like perhaps channeling. Why don't the grandkids come and visit anymore? Spontaneously out of the blue. Yeah, I think that might have been them picking up on something. 3 came for the werewolf, since that counts too. Sorry. I tricked us. You said 1. I thought you were going to say 2 next, but you went with 0. Yeah. Sorry. That keeps you thinking, though. Keeping you on the ball. I wish that was intentional, but no, it wasn't. It was just, 1, yes. 0, no. It's kind of binary, 1s in computer language are, the affirmative, 0s are the lack of something. So that's where I went. I went binary. Sorry. So I think those are fantastic. Brent thinks I'm a he. Oh, sarcastic. I don't know. A name like Car, your name starts with Car or something. Oh, it's a guy. But that's very sexist of me, I suppose. But yeah, sorry about that, Cardius. I'm sorry. My apologies. I obviously don't know whether most of you are male or female, other than some of you have pictures, some of you have names like Rachel's clearly lady. So Maggie, lady, she's called in. I've heard her. So there's several of you. I'm Brandy sounds like a female. Brandy Copeland. Just so I don't ever mean to assume though. Sorry. That's kind of funny though. I don't know. I saw a car and I was like, oh, that's got to be a dude. I'm all woman. You got it, Maggie, for sure. I know you are, Brandy. The icon is a real pic. Yep, D. I hear you. I have a voice too. Amateur acoustic says absolutely. But am I a human lady? That's a good question, Rachel. I don't know. I don't know. You might be alien because you're always getting it right. I'm not used to that. I could go full sexist now, especially since you're a girl. I'm just kidding. I'm just being a dick. Sorry. That was just funny in my head. Call me what you want. Just don't call me late for dinner, Phil says. Absolutely not, sir. We'll call you right away. If we ever serve dinner here on the portal. I can't wait for that technology. Brent, I remember choosing this life with my family. Oh, really? That's phenomenal, Tina. That's really cool. That's an amazing recollection. The earliest memory I have is getting my diapers changed. But and I did potty train normally, just for the record, so you won't think I was like a 7-year-old kid getting diapers changed. I potty trained on time, just saying. Come on, Brent, you don't know who I am yet. I don't know. I think I know you a little bit. I think you've been around a while. You have been part of this for a long time. Oh, Brent, you laugh, but we know you're sexist and there's somewhere. I'm really not. That sounds like a joke my dad would say. No, I think of funny crap all the time. It's just, unfortunately, I try to keep the shows, really even keeled so that I don't really piss somebody off, because the last thing I really want to do is to make people uncomfortable or make them feel like, God, what a dick, because I'm honestly just kidding. But you do feed us, you feed us knowledge. Oh, God bless you, Phil. But I'm really not sexist that I know of. If I am, I don't even realize it. So, yeah, what was that I saw? Oh, Brent, you laugh. We know you're sexist. Nah. You never know. You never know. But I honestly, I don't think I am. I got an eye full of burning right now. Sorry. I got this really oily skin, so when it gets in my eyes, it just really lights up my eyeballs. I'm going to look like I was hitting the bong pretty quick. My eyes will look all red. But honestly, no bongs were involved in the prep for tonight's show. Brandy, isn't that the song lyrics? What a good wife I'd be. But Brandy, she's a good girl. Yeah. No, he isn't. Brent is at least leastest of all people. Oh, thank you, Maggie. No, I know. I know you guys love me. I love you all too. You guys are all awesome. Thank you. But that was that article. I hope you guys liked it. What are we doing for time? 8:16. What do I have pulled up? I got to look back here. I was gonna look at some of these other articles that were listed here, but I don't think I need to. I was gonna look for more from this author though, because it was very well done. Excuse me. I hate to close these things when I have them open, because sometimes they have a host of links that you can follow for some of their other stuff. But let me just see if I can do this. If I can open it up. Doesn't look like it. All right. I don't know if these were all hers or not. Okay. No, it doesn't look like it. I'm just going to close it. Okay. Ah, shit. It was a good story, though. Good list. I like that one. Excuse me. Crank us out a tune. I don't even know what I would crank right now. I don't know. Guitar tune? What do you want to hear? I don't even know if this is in tune. This is actually a 1960s acoustic guitar. Yeah, it's pretty in tune. Ooh, I gotta watch my bracelets because they get caught in the strings. I wonder if I can do this one. See if you guys recognize this. Okay. Guys got it? Anyone? Jumpin' Jack Flash? Come on. Nothing? You guys must have known that. At least some of you. That was Jumpin' Jack Flash, not Satisfaction. But close. You got the Stones right. All right. Jumpin' Jack Flash. There you go. You couldn't hear it? What? Could you guys hear it? It's all right now. In fact, it's a gas. All right. We're going to get into some cryptids. But before I do that, I just realized I forgot to do something. And as such, I have to do it now before we get into it. Otherwise, it just won't work. All right. I don't think this is the one, though. No, I don't think so. Let me refresh it. I'm going to pull this up because I want to... Oh, thanks, Wes. Wes posted my latest podcast episode. It was an interview I did with author Robert Allred. And he's a very, very interesting guy. He wrote a book. What was it called? I gotta look this up because I have the worst memory for titles than anyone. So his book is A History of Military Encounters with UFOs. And he and I talked about the UFO phenomenon. That is the latest episode of the podcast if you guys want to check it out. It's available everywhere. Hubby got it right away. Oh, yeah. You know he'll know it. Brent, I sent you a song I made up about Paranormal Portal last night. All right. Well, thank you. But yeah, Wes posted it on his blog. So we're on there. Thank you, Wes. I appreciate it, brother, in case you're out there listening. He sometimes hangs out and just lurks. I just want to look for any new listener email stories because I love Wes's listener emails. Here it is. There's one. That one's an actual episode, but I don't think we've heard that one before. That story anyway. Oh, this is the one. Okay. I think we'll read this one. These are both live episodes and then one listener email, but I think we're going to get to the cryptids now. Are you ready? Because we're going in. Ready for a dad joke? Sure, go ahead, Phil. What's your dad joke? You can start typing it, and I'll introduce the segment here. Here we go. It's time for the Cryptid Corner. Okay, thanks, unknown. I'll check for it. That is so bad, Phil. Why do cows wear bells? Because their horns don't work. I love it. I love it. Very cool. Very good. All right. Welcome to the Cryptid Corner, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we talk about the creatures and cryptids that kind of make us maybe afraid to go out at night. I don't know. Maybe it makes you check in the dark places a little more carefully. God only knows. I mean, obviously we're not nocturnal animals by design, but our technology makes it so we can be to a degree, but we're still at a large disadvantage. And a lot of these creatures seem to lurk in the darkness. They're waiting. So be extra careful when you're going out after dark. But let's check these out. Let's see the first one. We're going to visit Sasquatch Chronicles blog, as I said, and we're going to start here. This is from March 16th is the first one. These are listener emails that Wes posts. Oftentimes, many times they become episodes, but some of them don't, just because Wes gets a bunch of these, and he would have to be doing episodes every day to do all of them. And the guy does a hell of a job. So let's read this one. March 16th is the email dated when he posted it. It was big, had shaggy dark hair all over, and its arms were unusually long. Sorry. Enunciation is not my gift tonight. A listener writes, I was reminded of something that happened to me in late summer of 2010. I dismissed it quickly because of how it affected me at the time. I was taking a friend home from town. We passed a barn that was on fire. The flames were very high and the smoke higher than the flames. I watched the fire from his house, which was on the hillside above. I took a different route home to avoid getting in the way of the emergency vehicles. I made a left-hand turn onto Lake Earl Drive and saw something step away from a tall hedge. It stepped down into a ditch maybe 3 feet deep and 5 feet across. It stepped down into the ditch with one foot and stepped up on the road with the other foot. Just before I saw this thing, I had slowed down because I was amazed that the light from the fire was visible where I was 3 miles away. I stopped to watch the light reflecting off the clouds that had come in from the ocean when I noticed movement at the edge of my car headlights. When it was on the road on my left, it turned and started walking in the opposite direction from me. I was driving slowly at that point, maybe 5 miles per hour. The thing covered so much ground with only a few steps. In one step, it was in the middle of another street that met up with Lake Earl Drive. At that point, it turned, and I'm not sure if it turned toward me or away from me, but that is when I saw it outlined in the light from a nearby house. And something snapped in my head. I think I said something like, "Holy crap." Actually, he said the S word, but you know. Then I pressed on the gas pedal, and I had this thought that it was coming after me, and that it was going to climb in the back of my truck and reach through the back window. I thought it might be chasing me even though I was going 50 miles per hour by then. I kept saying out loud to myself, "What the hell was that?" I was kind of screaming it and looking in my center mirror. I lived 5 miles from the place where I saw the thing, and I lived in the same woods that this thing had stepped out of. I didn't want to get out of my car when I got home because I didn't want to sit in the driveway alone in the dark either. I worked up my courage and got into the house, and I told my husband, and he seemed convinced because of how I looked when he saw me step through the front door. I didn't see much detail except that it was big, had shaggy dark hair all over its arms, were unusually long, and it seemed to not have a neck. I couldn't see its face, hands, or its feet. I can tell you it was not wearing any shoes or anything that resembled any kind of clothing. Later, I made up a story that what I saw was a kid in a ghillie suit. As luck would have it, maybe a month later, I saw a kid in the Safeway parking lot wearing a ghillie pants. I knew right away that what I saw was not someone in a ghillie suit. I felt conflicted knowing this fact because I was left with the problem of trying to explain what it was to myself. I grew up in the forest. My siblings and I would spend hours bushwhacking all over the hills. I've been up close to black bear, elk, and mountain lion. I've been within spitting distance of a shark and sea lions. I've been held hostage by men with automatic weapons. Jesus, what the hell's going on in your life? I've never felt this kind of threat to my life as I did that night from a thing on the side of the road. I can't help but feel that kind of stupid for what I felt that night. And I think I felt stupid after I got home and decided to explain it away. There was much of the experience that I'd forgotten until I started listening to other people tell their stories and their sense of crushing fear. Hearing their reports, I realized that I knew what they were talking about. I've been a certified lifeguard with open water training. I've had wilderness first responder training, and I work with people who are suicidal. I consider myself to be a cool-headed, especially in a crisis. I'm fearful, but for the most part, I can channel my fear into a coherent response. I've never experienced that kind of fear before. It is unexplainable all around. Thank you for giving me a forum to share this. I think I needed to confront this experience. Wow. All right, Dee, take care. Thanks for coming in. That's pretty crazy. Again, it's only a sighting, only a quick sighting probably. But the fear this person felt was absolutely tangible. And That's the part that's really crazy to me, is that there'll be military veterans who are interviewed, and they'll talk about, I was in war. I was getting shot at all the time. I was shooting at people. I was getting shot at. And I was fearful in those experiences, but I've never felt fear like when, and insert cryptid experience here. It's like something is so primal about this fear. And I don't know. I've tried to think about why. And I think it may be a projection from these things. Somehow they were able to project that onto us, like as some sort of telepathic safeguard. Like they can project this feeling of crippling fear, and it just overtakes people. That, even these people that are combat veterans are like, yeah, I mean, I was afraid in war, but I've never felt fear like this before. I've never been so afraid in all my life. And it's more than just, the fact that they saw something they couldn't explain. It's more than that. Yes, Maggie, is it actually fear or an effect of being near these things? Yeah, it's a great, great possibility. I think it might be something they're able to do. And again, I just have to refer back to, I don't know how many stories we've covered on the show, through the history of the show, where people are in the wilderness having a great time, relaxing, having fun with family, camping, whatever. And suddenly, it's like something happened. And they don't even know. And maybe it's subconscious, but maybe it's something more telepathic, that it's being given to them. It's being sent to them to experience. And what a crazy, crazy thing is that. And how do you safeguard from that? Maybe just by exposure. I don't know. Maybe just by experiencing it more than once. Maybe that's how you work through it. If you can get in close proximity more than once, maybe you can kind of brace yourself for that kind of response. But it's incredible. Yeah. I imagine meeting the monster for the first time is frightening. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the trying to conceptualize what it is to see something that, by all intents and purposes, isn't supposed to be there. By all of our knowledge and understanding, and obviously we're a little different in this neck of the woods, but most people are like, yeah, well, it's not something you're probably ever going to see because maybe they're not even out there. But I think we're open to that idea and accept the idea that they're out there. It's just still very, very rare to actually come in close contact with one. But how do you brace for that? And I don't know if you can. So there's already the confrontation with something that is way too big. It's way too ferocious. It's way too huge. It's way too strong, way too fast. And everything about them is overpowering. And no matter how big and tough you are, in the human scale, you're an infant suddenly. And that in and of itself has got to be real sobering. It's like, you might be a strong man. I can take care of myself. But when you're looking at something 10 feet tall that can twist branches off of trees, I mean, what are you going to do? Unless you're very, very well armed and very, very proficient with those things, you're probably going to be in a world of hurt if it wants to hurt you. So that alone is already puts it on the 10 plus fear factor. But what if it is something that they can attack us with? They can trigger it somehow psychically or through pheromones or something, some other explanation. Maybe it's infrasound. I don't know. I'm not saying it has to be psychic, but yeah, it could scare a person on sight or scream, but it uses pheromones or infrasounds. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Yeah. Here comes the night owl walking through my door. Is that you? Are you the night owl grandizer? Yeah, I think it's got to be an incredibly bizarre experience, but it's also amazing how transformative these experiences are. And that's something I marvel at every time we talk about this, is just how big the impact of these experiences are on people, that it changes them. It changes their comfort level for the rest of their lives. I think of Kerry Arnold, wonderful guy, Bigfoot Odyssey, in case you never saw his show. He's passed away now, but he was a dear friend. And just, the guy's 6'4", and he's built like a brick house. I mean, the guy was just everything about him was just like, yeah, you don't want to screw that guy. But he saw one and it changed him. He was a lifetime hunter and he couldn't think of entering the woods anymore. Once he saw it, it changed everything, and he was a mess, you know, and he would tell you that. He did work through it and ended up investigating again at the end, which I was really incredibly impressed by, because, you know, to work through that is got to be double tough, but he did. All right, here we go with the next one from Sasquatch Chronicles blog. This is from March 16th as well. This is episode 1138, The Joker Laugh. So this is now live, folks. It's out. You can check it out on Wes's show, wherever you listen to it from, all of the platforms, or you can go over to the blog here and check it out on the blog. The Joker Laugh. Chris writes, in early January, decided to head to RMNP, west of Estes Park, to hike up and snowboard down an old ski hill there. This is something I've done many times on my own, and often there are others doing the same. Although I think it's a bit more rare to go at night. You'll still see folks up there hitting a line at night with headlamps and lights. God, that's double brave. This time I decided to go at night on my own. I did tell 3 friends where I was going and actually texted one friend a starry pic from the trailhead. The trailhead lot was empty, as were the ranger stations on the way in. As were the ranger stations. That's the wrong use of we're. Yeah, there shouldn't be an apostrophe. Okay, that's my confusion. So at this point, I headed up the hill, and it usually takes about an hour, depending on snow conditions. I had a snowboard, a backpack with snacks, and a Bluetooth speaker, and I typically opt out of using snowshoes because I've got to carry them down as well. Well, I threw on the whole Sabbath Paranoid album to get my head straight and motivated. Jeez. The hill is a limited number of runs with low angles, so there really is no avalanche danger. A week prior, I did the exact same thing, a night hike and boarded down, so I was confident and enjoying the solace. Even over the Sabbath, I could hear the wind moving tall trees and flakes hitting the ground. The trailhead isn't challenging going up, and the terrain opens up and closes with the trees in the background. About 45 minutes in, I'm at the point where the hill opens up, and it's peppered with trees in the ski slope. The sides are surrounded by darkness due to the trees around. My speaker suddenly says, low battery. Well, I kept walking to the top where the hill funnels you into a narrow trail between the more trees. I had my phone, so I could point this part out on Google Maps. Right then, I decided to reach back and turn off the speaker so I didn't have to hear the low battery alert. I continued up this narrow trail for about 80 yards, just short of the length of a football field, only hearing the flakes landing, wind, and my crunchy boot prints. Out of nowhere came the loudest bark with a roaring echo that I've ever heard. At this point, I froze. My whole body went into shock. I went from nice and warm because of the movement to as cold as ice. I lost feeling in my lips. I didn't know what to do or to say or anything. So I did what I've done on a couple of occasions. I channeled my inner Phil Anselmo, whoever that is, and ripped the biggest scream I could. I yelled, "Hey!" with everything I had. I wanted to gauge where this noise came from, so I yelled. After I sat down shaking, about 15 heartbeats later, bark. And at that moment, I knew it was in the trees down from me. Silence in between those barks, so I knew it wasn't moving. I got into my bag and took out 3 lights I use for night biking, all of which are at least 1,000 lumens. I pointed one up the trail, one down the trail, and one right in front of me into the trees. I listened and heard nothing. I'm thinking, did I imagine this? So I go, "Hey," one more time. Sure enough, about 10 to 15 heartbeats later, Bark. I almost started crying as I strapped my snowboard faster than I ever could have otherwise. I'm freaking out in silence as I'm thinking about to board into this sound heading down. And I'm thinking all of this. I've gotten ready and I'm about to stand up. And this is where, in the trees ahead of me, a crazy loud laughing started. Ha 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 ha. It echoes as if there are multiple somethings laughing at me, like a mad joker. I flipped at that point, mentally freaked out. I was having trouble standing up because my hands were sinking into the snow. And I quickly found a way up and headed down faster than I would have in the day. I didn't sleep for 2 nights and still have trouble doing so. Thanks for reading this, Wes. I was shaking and having a hard time writing this. And he says, we'll also be speaking to Augustus. He writes, my uncle just died, and he told me to tell you about all of the interesting stories and crazy things we saw hunting and horseback riding. Augustus is from Utah and shares some strange encounters near his family's property. So there's a couple of great stories that are on this episode. Again, that's episode 1138, The Joker Laugh. So definitely listen to it over on Sasquatch Chronicles, wherever you want to listen to Sasquatch Chronicles. Great, great story. Wow. You know, I've heard that when they laugh, they do that. Some people say they kind of laugh like Scooby-Doo, like, you know, and this is the first time I've heard the Joker laugh. So I'm imagining the Joker from Batman, like, you know, something like that, like a diabolical laughter. But I don't know. Maybe it was cracking up because this guy was obviously freaking out. Like maybe he was down there looking at him like roof, and then just to see what he'd do. And he yelled, and then it roofed back, and then it roofed back again. And then by that time, the guy was absolutely flipping out. It must have been comical for it to watch. Like, yeah, okay, big guy in the mountain. There you go. You know, maybe it was funny. Maybe it's funny to these things. I don't know. How human are they? I don't know. I hate to anthropomorphize them too much, but at the same time, they seem to have very human traits. So hard to know, folks, but great story. There's one more here from Wes. This is March 15th, that night's show, Please Help. Spoke to the witness, and she is 78 years old. She said this started right after she moved in last year, and this has been nonstop since. A listener writes, I'm contacting you because I've watched some of your programs and I need information. I have a Sasquatch about 4.5 feet tall. He's a young man, and he comes to my house every evening. He will not let me sleep. He bangs on the side of the mobile home because I have a mobile home. You knock on the windows, he just knows everywhere. I'm in my home. Everywhere that I'm in my home. Okay. I just don't know what to do about the situation. I've even tried talking to him. I've contacted David at the Bigfoot Expeditions, and he's been working with me pretty much, but he doesn't have the answers either. I live in Georgia. I'll be glad to give you my phone number, and you can call me. You can call David and talk to him about it. He knows all about it pretty much. It's just that I don't sleep, and I've ended up having to go to a friend's house and stay there in the evening and come home during the day, which is very frustrating. So if you have any information that could help me in any way, it would be such a blessing for me. I truly wish that I had never seen this young man, and I really, really wish he would find another home. He's all black eyes, and he's about 4.5 feet tall. I dread it when he gets bigger because he plays havoc with me all the time. He gets on my roof and just walks back and forth. If I go to bed, you can hear him up there growling. You can hear him roll. Somebody says, sounds like a bunch of rock salt out of my 12 gauge may quell the situation. Yeah, maybe. Or make it worse. Then you might get Big Daddy and Mommy coming in and deciding to have some words with you. I don't know. That's crazy. I don't know. That's a bizarre one. 4.5 feet tall. Yeah, I mean they don't start out 10 feet tall. They gotta be smaller sometime. Boondocks in there. Good to see you, Boondock Mojo. Great to have you coming in. Thank you for coming in. Really appreciate it. But there you go. That's another story. Again, another episode as well. I don't see that one listed. What was this? 15th? And it's what, the 19th? So it must be up. Or maybe it's a member show, though, too. I don't know. It could be a member show. I don't know about that. So, but if you're a member, you'll get that one, too, I guess. I would go yell, or I would go tell. Go yell or tell. I remember seeing at least one Bigfoot documentary in the movie theater in my town when I was a kid, Rachel says. Oh, okay. Please hit the likes. Yeah, absolutely. If you're here, please hit the likes if you're enjoying yourself. If you're not enjoying yourself, hit the dislike twice. No, actually, you can hit it once if you want. It's up to you. I don't pretend everybody's going to love the show, but I hope most of you do. Because I'm here doing the best I know how to entertain you. What have we got? 8:45. Wow. Time is just flying. I got about time for one more, so I got to pick out which one more that's going to be. So I got to go over here. Oh, yeah. We don't do a lot of these, but this one might be good. That has to do with lake monsters or a werewolf. What do you want, lake monsters or a werewolf? Which version you want for the next story? The last one of the night. Lake monster or a werewolf? Let me know. I'm waiting. This is another poll in the chat. Lake monsters or werewolf? One or two. Phil Funk doesn't care. Either one. Grateful wants both of them. Come on. I got to be done sometime. Lake monster, Hoggle says. Okay, Hoggle, you're the first one to say something. Aussie says werewolf, but you're after Lake Hoggle. So Hoggle said it's T-Bone, Lake Monster, Rachel says. All right. Overtime both. Okay, we got a lot more votes now for the Lake Monster. Let's do it. Let's do the Lake Monster. I'll do the werewolf one on Friday when you're in here. So that just means you'll have to come back and get the werewolf one. All right, here we go. This one is from Phantoms and Monsters. This is Lon Strickler's site. A wonderful, wonderful site. Lon's been a long-time friend of the show, and he's appeared on the show a few times. Great guy. Got to get him back on. I keep saying that. I really do love having Lon on the show and talking to him about this stuff. So I'm going to have to make that happen sooner than later. But if you're not familiar with phantomsandmonsters.com, you should get familiar with it because there are literally thousands of reports over there and encounter stories that Lon's cataloged. And if you like this stuff, and I'm sure you do, this is one of the places you should have on your bookmarks because Lon updates this several times every day. There's several new articles, new things that he's recording, so definitely go check it out. Also information about his published works as well as their research efforts. And you can find out information about Lon's podcast, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio. And that's also a YouTube channel. Lon goes live every Friday, I know for sure. 6 p.m. Pacific time. I guess that'd be 7 Central, 8 Eastern. And you can hear Lon talking about these kind of stories and different themes for each of his shows. But wonderful to get it from the man himself. So definitely go over and check out Phantoms and Monsters Radio on YouTube or check out his podcast on all the podcast platforms. So let's get to this. This is from February 17th, 2025, last month. Unknown snake-like cryptid reported in Lake Leelanau, Michigan. It's coming from Michigan, folks. It's an unknown snake-like cryptid. I received the following email, and I spoke to the witness the same day I received their reports. The witness contacted me years later, inquiring if I had received any further sightings reports from that location. I didn't receive much feedback after the original post. Hello, I found your email address on Google and decided to write to you. I live in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I've lived in the area most of my life. North of me is Lake Leelanau, a place where I have camped and fished for many years. I know the lake very well and have been on it hundreds of times. In June of 2015, my wife and I took our RV to the Leilanu Pines for a week. This campground is on the lower west side of the lake, and on the last day of our trip, I was heading back to the boat launch after an hour or so on the lake when I noticed something sticking out of the water. It was about 300 feet from shore, and it looked like a long, thick piece of black rubber until it suddenly dove back under the water. Well, I cut the motor and just sat and watched. A few minutes later, I noticed surface movement about 50 feet from me. It looked like a very thick black snake. It shimmered in the sunlight as it skirted across the water. The head was broad like a viper, but only about 10 inches wide. That's a lot of head for a Michigan snake. Holy Christ. The best I could tell, the body was about 8 to 10 feet long. It didn't seem to have any appendages. The body tapered to a lizard-like tail, and I watched it for about 20 seconds until it plunged back into the depths. The head looked like that of a pit viper, but it was definitely not a snake. The body at its widest point was about 20 to 25 inches across with a slight ridge running down the back. I thought it might be a large turtle at first, but as I watched, I soon realized this was something entirely different. Can you give me an idea of what this was? I've asked a few friends who are also outdoorsmen, and they are stumped. I appreciate your help. Name and personal information were removed from the original email. Here's Lon's note. I contacted SN and received a quick response. We later talked by phone. I believe SN truly witnessed something unique. Does anybody have an opinion as to what this was? I later learned that there was an obscure monster encounter at Lake Leilanu in 1910, and I dug up what I could. There wasn't much to offer. After a bit of research, I found a reference to the origin of the monster. A boy was fishing for perch one day in 1910 in the shallows of Lake Leilanu in Leilanu County. The lake had been dammed in the late 1800s to provide water power for a local mill and enable logging. The dam also flooded much of the surrounding area, turning it into swamps and bogs punctuated by dead standing trees. On that particular day, William Gauthier rowed out to a new fishing spot near the town of Lake Leilanu, looking for a good perch habitat. He paddled up close to a tree that he estimated to stand about 5 feet tall above the water, with a 6-inch trunk. Well, he was in about 7 feet of water, and after deciding this would be a good place to stop and cast a line, he began tying the boat to the tree. And that's when young William discovered the tree had eyes. They were staring him dead in the face at about 4 feet above water level. The boy and the serpent exchanged a long gaze, and the creature went bloop into the water. Gauthier later said that the creature's head passed one end of the boat while the tail was still at the other end, though it was undulating very quickly through the water. Gauthier always admitted to having been thoroughly frightened by his encounter, and that the event caused him to stay off the lake for many years. William came from a prominent area family and was very well educated, and that he knew others who would admit privately but not publicly that they too had seen the creature. No sightings have been reported in recent times, but who knows how many people have believed that they were passing by a rotted old cedar when in fact they had just grazed the Leilanu lake monster. Sometimes known as Carp Lake, Lake Leilanu, which translated from the local Ojibwe language means delight of life, actually consists of 2 adjacent lakes which are located in Leilanu County, Michigan. The North Lake has a reported depth of over 120 feet, while the Southern Lake only goes down to about 62 feet. Nevertheless, both lakes are the alleged habitat of the monster that the locals have dubbed Leilanu. or Leilanau. I don't know how to say that. There is currently no physical evidence that would suggest a creature like Leilanu is ever living in Lake Leilanu, but as far as the SN sighting, we'll see if anything develops. Yeah, it's fascinating. Huh. Another one of those kind of standalone reports. A very regional, weird thing. I don't know. Is it possible? Sure. Sure it is. Given that there's that much history, now when I first heard the sighting, I was thinking, well, maybe somebody had a big boa or a python and, oh, go be free. You can do it. And in Michigan, of all places, where it will die as soon as it gets cold. But it's an interesting take. But the physical description didn't stay snake for very long when they talk about the mid-body being so much wider and that it wasn't very, very big. Aaron J. says, A.C. Johnson had reports of a large black snakes eating sheep in the San Juan River. Oh, wow. Yeah. I guess that's probably another thing that hasn't quite made the mainstream. But this is the first one I've heard from Michigan, a small lake like this. It's interesting. Now, again, with a lot of reptiles, they have indeterminate growth. Like they will grow as big as the body of water that they're in will allow them to. And so maybe for this creature, that's full grown. Like that's as big as it can get because of maybe the depth of the lake, maybe the amount of fish and food that it can get. But then you have things like Nessie and Champ, which are much, much bigger lakes, much deeper. And perhaps they grow much, much bigger, but maybe they're still the same kind of thing. Maybe they're the same kind of weird, strange creatures. But at any rate, I don't know. It's all speculative. I can't know. Wouldn't rule out an actual snake or large eel, Justin Gooder says. Yeah, that's something I was considering too, but when they talked about the mid-body being so wide, but the head and the tails looking snake-like, having a long neck, but then the body being wider, I don't know. It could be just a really profoundly big eel, but sticking its head above water like that, and in the boys' case, appearing to be a tree, and staying there motionless like that, that does seem more reptilian than aquatic. But at any rate, I don't know. It's very, very interesting. But yeah, Barbara says it probably just ate. That's a good point. Maybe it just took in a small deer or something. You never know. I don't know. Again, it's all speculative, but crazy. I don't know, but that's the show. I hope you guys had a good time. I hope you enjoyed yourselves here on the portal. Again, these are the live streams. These are not the podcast. If you've not listened to the podcast, please do. That is available on all the podcast platforms. Number 9 right now, and that's a chart out of the top 100 ghost hunting podcasts, which is kind of weird because I really don't do a lot of ghost hunting podcasting. We do talk to people that have had hauntings and experience, but Brent, would this cryptid be similar to the Bear Lake monster up by your state? I'm not even familiar with the Bear Lake monster, so I don't know. But if you have any links or anything, Grandizer, please send them to me. There's tons of things I've never heard of that are out there. People have experienced, but I don't know about it. I don't know where Bear Lake is up by me. I'm in the north of Idaho, so I don't know. I'm a transplant from Minnesota, though, and I don't get out much, so maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's part of it. I just don't get out enough. But at any rate, this has been the journey. I hope you guys had a good time. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and thank you so much for coming in and being a part of it with me. I really, really appreciate it. I'm just going to minimize and close that. I will be live again on Friday with Sheldon, should be here with me. And then on Saturday, Tex is going to join me, so I'm just saying. Used to squeeze whole squirrels out of snakes after beheading them as a kid. Oh, jeez. Oh, Justin, that's so surprising. Used to squeeze them like a toothpaste thing, just like, oh, there's a squirrel. Oh, I just had a visual of that. Sorry, couldn't resist. But that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. So again, we do these live shows every Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you want to get involved, please subscribe if you're not. Follow, ring the bell if you have notification bells on the platform you're watching. If you recall the 1970 movies, the Crater Lake Monster, they said the Bear Lake looks like that. I don't think I did see the 70s movies, the Crater Lake Monster, so I don't really have that as a metric either. So sorry, Grandizer. But I'd be happy to look into all of it. I just am not familiar with it, just offhand. So Bear Lake is on the border of Idaho and Utah. Okay. I didn't know that either, so I'm learning a lot just from what you're telling me here. I gotta go, Grandizer. I'm only one man. I only have so much to give, and turns out this is it. But that's it. That's all we got time for. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. I'll be back here on Friday. I hope you'll join me then. So just remember, love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. And I'll be back. And what's the best documented UFO encounter Nimitz? Oh, you asked me this at the end of the other story. I think they're all equally well documented and regarded. They're just very different encounters, all of them. There's not really a correlation between the Nimitz and Rendlesham other than it both involved military. But the Nimitz was airborne, seeing it airborne, and all of those feats that they observed them while they were flying fighter jets. The Rendlesham was very up close and personal at the Rendlesham Air Force Base, so in England. So it's very different. I think they're all phenomenal. I got bumped again for text. Dag nabbit. Well, you're welcome to come in and hang out with us, brother, as always. But that's going to wrap it up. So Brent Thomas laughing, so contagious. That is healing. I hope so, brother. Thank you, Grandizer, for posting that. If you ever want to send me anything to me physically, Grandizer just posted the Paranormal Portal P.O. Box in the YouTube chat if you want to have a look at that. I love getting packages, so if you want to send me something. I did just get a couple packages. I got Bill Simone's books. They came, and I got some books from Beth White, a wonderful friend, longtime friend of the show. She sent some books for me, and also like a Where is Waldo Sasquatch edition for the Minions, so that was cool. Thank you, Beth, if you happen to be out there watching. Love you dearly. Thank you. That was really cool to get those books. And I got a whole stack of them over here on the other table that I'm going to look through when I get 5 minutes someday. But I love having them anyway. So my dream is always to have like just a bookshelves full of all these kind of crazy books. I love this stuff. So thank you, Jane. Appreciate it. I appreciate you being here over on Facebook, keeping us company over there. I'm glad to know. I love getting the messages from these different platforms because I can't actively monitor them. So I don't know if they're all working or not. I assume they are. But when I get messages like Jane's, yours, that really helps me know that, hey, it's working over on Facebook. So, and good night to my Rumble crowd. Love you guys as well. Love you on YouTube, Twitch, X, Facebook Live, wherever you're watching. Thank you so much for watching. And again, be back on Friday. And then again on Saturday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. If you want to come back, I'll be here. I'll get the lights on and we'll wait for you. All right, everybody. Good night. That's it. Rolling the credits.